Lately, it seems like every time I turn on the TV, there are news about another wildfire someplace in the world. Brazil, California, lately Australia, where a billion animals, wombat, koala, kangaroo, it's hard to even wrap my imagination around that figure. More than a billion animals perished in that fire. Stories of those fires made me think about a Jataka story. A Jataka story is a story about previous incarnations of the Buddha. Before the Buddha was the Buddha, sometimes the Buddha took the form of an animal or a human throughout history. And this story takes place when the Buddha became a little gray parrot who lived in the middle of a green wood. The parrot loved living there, sheltered in the arms of the trees, and friends with all the animals and the plants in that area, loved to fly out through the blue sky off to the blue river. One morning, the parrot woke up and the air was filled with smoke. She flew out of her home and up high where she could see her friends, the trees, were wreathed in flames. She flew towards the safety of the river because she could get away. Not all the animals could. She looked down and the animals, some of them were trapped and running. She said, "Run, run to the river. Be safe there." She flew to the safety of the river, but then decided, she had to try to do something. She wasn't sure what, but she said, "If not me, then who? If not now, then when?" So she flew to the river and she immersed her body in the river, and then lifting up from the river flew straight back to the flame. When she was through the smoke and the heat, she shook her wings and little droplets of emerald water fell down on the fire. Psst, 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 and disappeared. Undaunted, she flew back to the river, immersed her body, and then flew back to the fire. She saw some animals sheltered near the river, and she said, "Come, help me with beak and mouth and paw and claw, with cupped leaf, gather some water and help me fight the fire." But they said, "No, it's too late. No one can do anything, and besides, we're safe here." The little gray parrot flew back to the river and then back to the fire again and again. Meanwhile, there were some gods floating in their cloudy palace up above. One of the gods looked down and saw the parrot and saw the fire and said to the other gods and goddesses, "Look!" They stopped their drinking and eating and partying long enough to look down, and they saw the little parrot and they said, "How ridiculous! The parrot will never do any good fighting that fire." And they went back to eating and drinking and partying. But the one god who saw the little parrot and saw the fire was moved and transformed himself into a great golden eagle, flew down to try to save the parrot. "Parrot, turn back. Can't you see this is doing no good at all? It's futile." The parrot said, "I don't need your advice. What I need is your help." Flying up above the flames and above the parrot, the golden eagle was so moved by the scenes that he began to weep. Great tears, great rivers, great falls of tears off beak and cheek and down to the earth. And where they landed on the fire was extinguished. And where they landed on the burnt animals, the animals were healed. The animals that were gathered near the river who had refused to help the parrot before, now seeing the miraculous rain, gathered together and tried to fight the fire as well. The tears from the eagle fell on the feathers of the parrot, and the parrot was transformed. From that day on, those little gray feathers of that tiny bird were transformed into all the colors of the earth, the blue of the river and the sky, the yellow of sunlight, the green of the forest. It happened one day, when the Buddha took the form of a little gray parrot in a green wood. It happens every time we fall in love with all the colors of the earth, the blue of the sky and the river, the yellow of sunlight, the orange and red of the sunset or sunrise, the green of the forest and the desert, when we fall in love with those colors and we worked to protect their beauty.